In comic books, unless you're Uncle Ben, you're guaranteed to return from the dead. And even Uncle Ben can be debated at this point. But hey, comics, right? The movies and the TV series are ending up just like the comics. So post Secret Wars, would you be surprised to hear that they're gonna bring back dead characters? Probably not, right?
It's pretty crystal clear that Secret Wars is going to be the end point of the MCU as we know it, but also a rebirth point for the MCU as we know it. It's obviously getting pretty complex to keep up with everything, all the continuity, new fans coming in all the time, and somebody that was 10 years old when they saw Iron Man 1 is now going to be pushing their 30s when it comes to Avengers Secret Wars. It's kind of insane. And naturally, like ongoing series with long running continuities and so many issues and things that crop up and creep up unexpectedly, there is a point where there becomes too much and people get turned off of it. And I think this is evident in some other recent franchises like Mission Impossible, for example, where the story took it all the way back to events of the early films and people left confused because, again, some people did not even see those old ones before they saw the new ones. So again, continuity is fickle. So when we get to the MCU leading up to Secret Wars, there's obviously a lot of hype because they're building off of almost 20 years of continuity. And now even more due to franchises like Sony Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, and of course even Blade being canon along with the OG X-Men. So even more continuity. At some point, it all has to end, and there's got to be a natural stopping point and a reboot point, and that's exactly what we're hearing. Post Secret Wars, we are getting to that, and the big thrust going forward will be once the Secret Wars reset slash reboot happens, and more on the reset side, less on the reboot side, we are in for what is a MCU with dead characters being resurrected. So it's kind of crazy to me to see people complaining about how Marvel Studios is out of ideas and that they're going to have to bring back old dead characters like Iron Man or Captain America Steve Rogers or whoever once the MCU is rebooted. And obviously, we keep hearing that new actors will play many of these characters, while some might remain as legacy characters to carry on the torch. More than likely, actors that are a little bit younger, or some that want to stick around for a longer period of time, as they're going to keep acting for a while. And this makes sense. And people are complaining about them bringing back dead characters or recasting, which doesn't make sense to me. This would be effectively the first ever recasting of Captain America and Iron Man in the modern era. Because the last Captain America film, they got a theatrical release, and I put that in very loose quotation marks, was around the time that we got Batman 89. How many different actors and reboots of Batman have we had since Michael Keaton? You literally need two hands to count them. So bringing back the dead, I don't think is a problem, and the return of dead characters, I don't think is a problem. I think that it's actually a genius move. And what we're hearing is that more or less what they want to do is establish this new continuity as sort of a new world that we're more or less seeing for the first time. So think of how Flash, when they were advertising that film, was supposed to be a reset point. And that was going to essentially end with the universe being reshuffled, Michael Keaton being the new Batman, Batgirl's active, James Gunn stuff was going to be in continuity, Superman was going to be completely different. And then they sort of said, you know what, we're just going to reboot everything, don't worry about it, whatever. We're going to get to that point. So it kind of makes sense that you're in this new world and you got actors like Shang-Chi, for example, or Tom Holland's Spider-Man running around being the same iterations of these characters, but also slightly different. And then you have characters like Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Iron Man completely recast. And that gets us to a point where there's familiar, yet there is the unknown. And I think that that's really the key here. It's a mix and match. It's sort of like a greatest hits compilation, but also as part of a new album that people are super excited about. With all new franchises and slash songs, if we're still keeping up with the album analogy, being added to sort of, help usher in a new era. I think that that's great. Which then, of course, brings us to the Mutant Saga being a whole new, unexpected direction. So think about it. We're in the Mutant Saga. We're going to get the X-Men proper films. 3 films, let's say. We're going to get X-Force films because, of course, we are. It's going to be Deadpool and X-Force. We're going to get a X-Men TV series on Disney Plus / Hulu. Because of course we are, because it makes sense. And I think that they're going to course correct a lot from the Infinity Saga and the Multiverse Saga. And now we're at the prequels stage of revisionist history for the Infinity Saga, where everything was meticulously planned, everything was genius, everybody knew Guardians and Ant-Man were going to be big hits, and everybody was always a fan, because they're liars. Because they weren't. I think that they're planning the Mutant Saga to be something fresh and new. Essentially looking at what they have and saying, this direction we pre-plan far in advance. We got 3 to 4 around the clock mutant projects that are going to be here, which balances out these dead characters returning and bouncing off these new characters that people are going to get behind. And it's sort of a symbiotic relationship with bringing back the dead and then having new characters that people are fans of, but also having legacy characters like a Doctor Strange around and a Spider-Man to lessen the blow. So it's not a full-on, straight-up reboot, but you're still getting a bunch of everything sort of mishmashed under one roof that makes it feel like a continuation, yet also a new outlook with a bright future. And everything sort of culminates in a reboot that to me seems like it's going to be handled with care. Assuming we don't get hit with another pandemic that puts everything off rails for another 5 years. One can hope. But here we are. So I think the future in regards to bringing back the dead and rebooting everything is a smart move. Because now you know what you're doing and you have the foresight of knowing exactly where you're going. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.